guys, Jennifer from Scrapping Under the Influence. I am back with the album that will fit in our little aquarium box. So since I had filmed a proper kind of walkthrough of the 360 of this and then forgot to put it on my video last week, we're going to go ahead and do that on the beginning of this, and then we'll walk through the album. So right now I do have the lights off here in my room. Just so you can see how the lighted top of this makes this look like an aquarium. So let's go ahead and turn the lights on. And take a closer look. So when the lid comes off, I just have basic fairy lights in here. I just made a little spot for the battery pack so you can turn that off and on, and that sits so that the battery pack sits in the back part of the aquarium. So as you can see, I'm actually going to put that back on for just a minute. As you can see, here is the entire aquarium. Okay, I did just some rocks in the bottom from the Dollar Tree. Same thing with just some floral stuff that I pulled apart from the Dollar Tree, and then just used some stickers on acetate so that they kind of pop out. Okay, I'm going to reset my camera and then we will take a look down inside. Okay, so now we're looking at this from the top down. So as you can see, there's my little turtle that's sticking out on acetate, and the jellyfish, and the little submarine. So the album that slips in the back here, I did finish up last night, so that's just going to pull right out of that back. If you wanted to just use this as a gift box, you wouldn't even have to do that part. And even with this, you could leave this front piece off and just make this whole thing one big gift box. I have created a Cricut file for this that I'm going to test out, hopefully today, hopefully sometime this weekend, and get that posted as well. But I want to make sure that it comes out the way it should before I actually put that live for you guys. Okay, so let's look at our album. So the album pulls out like this and then opens like this. So I did use, except it's upside down, I did use my Cricut for this, and I will link the project file in the description. The Cricut will cut the pages and the matting. The rest of this you would still cut by hand. I am going to make a slight adjustment on the measurement on the spine and on this piece here. So make sure you watch for that to pop up on the video. Just because this ended up being a little bit tighter than I expected it to be. So I will be making a small adjustment there. So your pages on each side just mirror each other, and they're supposed to kind of look like little waves washing up on the shore. And I did something a little bit different, and I walked through it at the very, very end of the video. So I took the stencils that you can buy that go with this collection. So there's fish and there's starfish, okay? And I used Distress Oxide ink, and on my white pieces that I was using on the backs of my pages, I did go through with the stencils and the ink and do some ink blending just for something different on the backs of your pages. So it's not just the plain white. And the only reason the stickers are here is because apparently I had glue and it stuck, and I didn't realize this until this morning. So in case you're wondering, that's why. Not a lot of embellishing here because this does need to stay fairly flat so it can slide in and out of the box. So all you're going to see is just a handful of the ephemera pieces just glued down flat with the back open so you can slip a picture underneath. But I just took the stencils and just kind of moved them around and did different things with them. This one I did just straight out ink blending. Could have blended that out a little bit better in the middle, but that's okay. And then since this is the Distress Oxide ink, I did just spritz that with water. So there are some little spots and things there where the ink lifts once you get it wet. So we did that on that side, and on this side we've got some more of the fish. We've got starfish and more of the fish and the starfish, and then one page that I just blended to kind of match the red and the orange that's in the paper. So in the center, you have two little tabs, okay, one on each side. They're magnetized, they open up out like this, and then you have an expandable, and I don't know why this one side I pulled it wrong when I was attaching it down, so now it's like it doesn't want to sit in there right. You have an expanding storage pocket in the middle of this. So you could put pictures, you could put maps from the aquarium, or brochures from the aquarium, or, you know, things you picked up at your beach trip or whatever. And they're going to sit right here in the middle. This is going to close up like so, and it's going to hold those for you in the center of your album. And the album itself then, of course, slides down into the aquarium box. So this actually goes together really, really quickly. I did this entire project last night in about, oh my gosh, maybe 2.5 hours. And that included 2.5 hours without the ink blending. And that included trying to figure out how to make the center part work. So not a super difficult project. And I do actually also show you, if you don't have a Cricut and you're not able to cut these pages, I did show you a couple of options that you can use instead to still have a fun edge on this without using the electronic cutting machines. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial. Okay, so let's start with our album base. So you're going to need 2 pieces of chipboard, 7x7, 1 piece 7 by 1 3/4, cardstock to wrap those, 2 at 9 by 9, 1 at 4 3/4 by 9. We're going to start with our 7x7. I'm going to put them in my scoreboard with my 1-inch spacers. I've already gotten adhesive on the back of this. I'm just going to get in here with my little tool, maybe, and get the backing off of the chipboard. So these pieces are not part of the Cricut file for the pages. These are just cut with the paper trimmer, because honestly, when it's a basic square or whatever, it takes the Cricut about as long to cut it, if not longer, even with the new one, as it does for me to just do it with the paper trimmer. So typically, I will hand cut this, and I save the Cricut for when I'm doing something that is a little bit fancier. Okay, so for the spine piece, you need a piece that is 4.5 by 9. Ignore the 4 3/4 by 9 that's written on here. This is wrong. We do actually need to take just a tiny bit off of the width of the spine here. So your cardstock will be 4.5 by 9. Your chipboard will be 1.5 by 7. So when I flip this over, you'll see I've got 1 3/4 written on there. Ignore that. That is absolutely wrong. So now we are going to fold our cardstock around our chipboard. Okay, so you're just going to use the chipboard to help fold the cardstock, and then you're going to crease. We're going to do this on all 3 pieces. So once you've done that, we're going to come in here and we're going to cut out the corners on all 3 pieces. And you're just going to cut along those lines where you folded and burnished. Okay, after you've done that, you're going to fold in, and you can see how that sticks out just a little bit. You're going to come in and you're going to miter that just a tiny bit. You don't want that paper sticking out over the edge, because when you get this all wrapped, it's going to have messy corners. So that's why we're going to go ahead and trim that off. Okay, I'll do that again. Last piece. Okay, fold and miter again one more time. And we can start getting these sides stuck down. Got to empty my scrap bin in here again. Okay, so when you go to put the sides down, you can use just glue. I'm going to use a combination of glue and score tape, because part of the reason why Tamara had come up with this method to build your album bases was because she had done a retreat cruise a couple of years ago, and she had a bunch of older ladies on there that, and when I say older, I mean we're talking like in their 80s, okay, who of course had some arthritis issues, and they had a hard time doing the album cover where you attach, you know, the cardstock together and you have that big long line and then you have to try to fold it and everything. They had a hard time with that. So she was trying to come up with a way to do the album base where you didn't have to wrap the cardstock like that. And that's how this easy wrap method came up. Well, initially she had you do it like this, where it was this combination of the glue and the score tape. Since then, Tamara has gone to just glue. I've done it that way. I've kind of gone back to the glue and score tape for the reason this album method was originally created. I've been having some carpal tunnel issues, and when I do it with just glue, because I spend a lot of more time burnishing, and I spend a lot of time burnishing it really hard, I get to where I have like no grip strength in my hand because of my carpal tunnel. And I have tried compression gloves, which help to a point, but not always. Okay. And then for the spine piece, we're only putting down 2 sides, You want to leave these wings, the longer sides, out. Okay. All right, so I'm going to start with my spine piece. I'm just going to pull up my backing on my tape. And all I'm going to do, let's see how gunked up my glue is. Should be okay. Actually, it looks okay. All right. I am just going to run a little bit of glue, maybe. Or not. Okay. A little bit of glue in here. I'm going to use my bone folder. I'm going to push up against the chipboard and then over and down. And because I'm using the combination of the glue and the score tape, the tape helps it grab immediately and I don't have to do as much burnishing. That's the reason I do it that way. Okay, for front and back cover, you're going to go ahead, pull your, if you're using the score tape in addition to the glue, you're going to pull your backing off of your tape on all four sides. And we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to run glue along the edge of the chipboard in our little center space there. Use the bone folder to push up and then over and down. I'm going to go to the opposite side, glue, up, over and down. Okay. And then one more time. Okay. And again along the chipboard, below the tape, and then over and down. Okay. And again. Okay. So now I'm going to take my spine piece. I'm going to turn it so that the good side is facing up. I'm going to take my bone folder and I am just going to burnish along the side of the chipboard. Okay. In case you're wondering why I'm now doing this left-handed, it's because my wrist is killing me today. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of tape. And again, just for the reasons like I said before, because it's going to help grab immediately, I'm going to stay about 1/8 of an inch or so away from the edge of that chipboard. Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do, pulling my tape backing off of one side, I've got my cover piece that is sitting good side up. And I'm just going to come in here in the middle with the glue. And then I'm going to lay this on top of the main part of the spine here. And I'm going to use my finger at the top to help guide it. I'm going to pull this over until I feel it slide off the edge of the chipboard. Okay, now we're going to turn it around and do the same thing on the opposite side. Burnish that down. Turn it over. Burnish it again. And when I turn it this way, I'm going to push down on that spine to push that down in between. Okay. So there's that. I might have a piece that is not the right size, clearly. This needs to be 6 7/8, not 8 7/8. Obviously, I was not paying attention when I did this. So I've already got my tape on the back of this. So 6 7/8 by 5.5. And this is going to go across here to reinforce the center section. You do want to do this with tape because you could, if you do it with glue, there's no guarantee that it's not going to bubble, that you're going to have absolute complete edge-to-edge coverage doing it with glue. So it's best for this part if you do use tape. Okay, so I am just going to turn it wrong side up, kind of line up about where I want it to go. So I have a visual of where I want it to go. And then we'll put that down. So this is 6 7/8 by 5.5. Once it's down, I am going to use my bone folder and I'm going to push up on the side of my book and I'm going to use that bone folder just to work that crease to where the book needs to open. Well, so it'll bend over. Okay. Same thing again. Just going to use the bone folder to work that crease. And there we go. Okay, we're going to set this aside for right now and we're going to go to our pages. Okay, so for our pages, you're going to have 5 pages total, 5 on each side, and you're going to have the mats front and back for those. So when you look at the file in Design Space, if you're choosing to use the Design Space file, you're going to see that the matting are all different colors. That way, if you're cutting it on different patterns, it's going to cut a lot easier without you having to do a whole lot of moving around on the mat. You're also going to see that, whoops, too far. You have some white layers because I am going to back these with white and we're actually going to do something kind of cool with that. So what if you don't have a Cricut or you don't want to do this with a Cricut? You do have a couple of options. One would be a border punch. So like I could have taken this little kind of wavy edged border punch and cut my edge of my pages this way. Okay. The pages should be 7 inches high. I'm sorry, no, not 7 inches high. 6.5 inches high. Assuming I didn't totally screw these up. 6 3/4. Okay, so they're going like this. So 6 3/4 inches high. And then they're graduated at, let me actually get that split off here because they're going to go 7 1/4. So that one's 7 1/4. And then there's the matting. The next one is 6 3/4. And there's its matting. The next is going to be 6 1/4 with without its matting, 5 3/4, and then 5 1/4. You're going to score at 1/2 inch on the end of these. So if you're using a Cricut file, you'll notice when you hold your matting on here that it is smaller and you've got an edge out here. We're actually going to score these with the scoreboard. I didn't add the score lines on the file in Design Space just because when I'm cutting more than like a single card base and I want it scored, honestly, it's easier to just score it rather than changing out, particularly on the Maker, changing out with the scoring wheel every single mat. So, yeah, I didn't use the scoring wheel. But anyway, so those are going to be the measurements that you're going to want for the pages if you're not using a Cricut. And I will try and put those in the description of the video. But to get that wave look, if you've got a border punch that works, if you don't and you want to freehand cut it, you can do that. So what you would do is you would cut your matting and your page to, well, your matting you would cut 1/2 inch shorter. Matting and your page, same width, almost the same height. Hold them together, and then you would just come in here with your scissors and freehand cut your little wave in here. What that's going to do is you're going to be sure that it's going to match, and then you would just place it down that slight offset like we would normally do, and then just take 1/8 of an inch off of, actually not even that, like 1/16 of an inch off of each end. So then it would sit on there like so. So it's possible to do it without the Cricut file and still end up with kind of a cool project. So let's move that stuff out of the way. Let me grab my little pile of pages here. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your first page base, and if I have a scoring tool somewhere here, put it in your scoreboard with the wavy side facing to the right, and you're just going to score this at 1/2 inch. Okay? And you're going to do this on all 10 of these pages. Okay, so those are my white mats. I'm just going to set those in my pile here. Okay. Last one. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to separate this into 2 stacks. Actually, I'm going to put my white ones together. And I'm going to pull out just the page bases. We're going to leave the matting for right now. We are going to mat these before we actually put this whole section into the book, and we're actually going to do our center section before we put this into the book. So just stack them up, set them to the side. So what we're going to do is, okay, I am going to fold and burnish all of these tabs. And then I'm going to set them down. so that the wavy side's facing up. And I'm going to get these lined up, one behind the other. Okay. Okay, just like that. I would recommend doing this on a flat surface so that you can get them lined up the way you want them. I don't know why I am having a hard time with this one, but here we are. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is actually clip them together once I have all of them lined up. I'm going to clip them together. Because if you remember my, oh my gosh, was it my National Scrapbook Day project last year? So 2020, we did the little wallet album, and all you did is stack these together and just glue one on top of the other. Exact same thing here. So all I'm going to do, get those all stacked up, come in here with my glue. Apparently I don't have a rag out here to wipe that off with. And I'm just going to come in one after the other and get glue on that tab. Okay? You're not going to do this top one, because that one we will do when we go to actually put it in the book. So I'm going to go ahead and burnish these down. And then I'm going to clip it one more time to hold them. Like so. Okay? We're going to do that on both of these. One thing I should have looked at on the other one before we glued it is to make sure, particularly since we are using some directional papers, that everything is going to line up the way it's supposed to, that we didn't flip one around the wrong direction by mistake. And when I was cutting my mats, I actually meant for that one to be on top. But that's okay. So I am just going to slip these in here and make sure. Just grab the wrong set. I did, I think. I did. Actually, no, I didn't. I'm just turning them. I think I'm actually holding this one upside down. But that's okay, because it will go together either way. Okay, so we're all good there. I should have double checked this one before I put it down, but that's okay. I think we're good. I think these were actually fairly symmetrical, but I don't think it's going to make any difference. Yep, we're good. Okay. All right, so put that one over there. Put these out. All right. Grab more of my clips. Again. Okay. Okay. So again, I'm going to come in here and get glue on the tabs. Brush that down, and then I'm going to clip it to hold it while it dries. Okay, so set that one aside. Grab this other one, and we are going to go ahead and mat the fronts of our pages. The white ones are going on the back. We're not going to do those yet because we're going to do something fun with those in just a second. So if you want to ink your papers, go right ahead. I'm actually just going to leave mine as is, and I'm just going to come in and glue my mats down. Back. I'm like, wait a minute, something's out of order here. That would be why. Okay. It's kind of torn if I use that or if I use the turtles. I almost kind of want to swap that around. I think I'm going to. Because then that one should go right there. This one should go right here. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Which, where I'm cutting the mats so that they mirror each other, I can absolutely do. Okay. And our last one. That one's the whales on the back. I want the little mermaid scale print showing instead of the whales. All right. So that side is done. And put these in on this side. And again, yes, I did sacrifice cut-aparts so that I had that pretty blue with the kind of waves on it. And then didn't realize what color was going to be my front page as far as my mats went. And I didn't cut it for the front page. But that's okay. If I'd been really worried, I would have just cut it again, but I am not that worried about it. It'll be just fine. Because we can decorate it anyway, and it's not going to matter. And honestly, I like the little school of fish on that red. Okay. And last one. Oops, let's not keep glue everywhere today. Which would be a first, but you know, here we are. Okay. All right. So, one's going in the left, one of them's going in the right, just like this. Okay, let me grab some stuff and we will work on our center section. Okay, this is the other section where we need to make an adjustment to how the measurements are. So instead of this being 9 3/4 by 8 3/4, it's going to be 9.5 by 8.5. The main back piece is still going to be 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. We are still going to score this on 3 sides with 2 score lines. So the 3 sides you're going to score at 5/8 of an inch and 1 1/4 inches. And you're going to turn 5/8 again, 1 1/4 again. Turn it again, 5/8 one more time, 1 1/4 one more time. And on the last side, you're going to score at 1/2 inch. Okay. Actually, I'm sorry, the chipboard that goes in there, and I'm actually going to show you here in a second. So what you're going to do on the sides that have the 2 score lines is you're going to take about 1/16 of an inch off of those after you score them. You don't want to do it before. You're doing this so that when you wrap this around the lightweight chipboard that makes up the sides of the centerpiece, so that it doesn't buckle and be too long and catch. So go ahead and do that. And then we're going to cut. So on the sides, and I should actually mark these in just a second. On the 1/2 inch side, the side that has the 1/2 inch score, aha, here we go. Now I'm going to mark it so this will make more sense. So this is the side that just has the 1/2 inch score. And what you're going to do is you're going to cut, oh wait, we're going to mark the other side too. Okay, so then the opposite 2 corners have the 2 intersecting score lines. Okay. So there you go. You can see that. So on the bottom here where this 1/2 inch score line is, you're going to angle and then cut up along the score line and take out those 2 boxes on the side. You're going to do the same thing on the opposite side. You're going to miter that in to the 1/2 inch score line and then cut along the 1/2 inch score line to remove that corner. Okay, that's going to be the flap that attaches this at the bottom. On the other 2 corners, you're going to cut, sorry, I was talking, I honestly don't remember what I was saying there. You're going to cut all the way across the first score line and then all the way up on the second score line on the first one, and then like that to remove that corner. And we've done this on other boxes and things that I've done so that you have that little tab. That's basically what you're doing, is making a tab. So you're going to make sure that you've got just that inside square from where those score lines intersect. The only thing left is going to be that inside square so that you have your tab. My child is upstairs playing the piano with his buddies and he knows better, so I may have to stop for a second here and go up and throw a tantrum. Okay, so we've got our tabs now. Okay, so that 1/2 inch is the tab that's going to attach to the inside of the box. On the 3 sides is where we're going to use the lightweight chipboard to form the sides. So I'm going to go ahead and fold these over. Okay, so now you're going to have 3 pieces that are 1/2 inch by 6 5/8. The centerpiece, I know I said a second ago 6 3/4 by 6 3/4. It's 6 5/8 by 6 5/8. I am just going to glue these in here. You could use score tape if you wanted to at this point, just because it is the lightweight chipboard. The way we're doing this, glue's going to work just fine. So I'm going to get that in there, push it all the way to the score line that is closest to you, the one that you're going to fold. And then you're just going to go ahead and put glue on the chipboard itself and fold that over and burnish it down. And then that will stand up. Okay, you're going to do the other 2 sides. And I don't know why I went like to the opposite side as opposed to just going to the top. I think it's just habit from wrapping chipboard, but so again, all the way to that outside score line, and then fold over and glue it down. And you'll see right now, you kind of see a tiny bit of this chipboard. When this is all over and done and put together, you're not going to even see that because it doesn't open enough for you to see that at that point. Okay, so again, these are 6 5/8 by 1/2 inch. Ignore what, if you can see what's written on there, that is incorrect. We did need to adjust this just a little bit so that it slides in and out of the box on the back of the aquarium a little bit easier. It fits the way I had it. It was just a little bit on the tight side. So all you're going to do now is bend those sides up, put glue on that little tab, grab a couple of clips, and then glue that down. So there's your sides that are going to stand up. Okay. So not super hard. Now you're going to take your 6 5/8 by 6 5/8 piece. You're going to go all the way to the top. It is going to be just a hair short on the bottom, which is what you want. And I'm just gluing this one in as well. Okay. And then you'll end up matting the inside of this, and you could just mat it with black right now and be done with it. I did actually end up using some of the pattern paper on the inside, but it's entirely up to you. So you're going to want to look at these bottom corners. You will most likely need to miter that bottom corner of this box. And I just did it after the fact just because I wasn't sure how much I was going to have to miter it. Sorry, I'm out of frame on that. But all I'm doing is just mitering that off so that it sits flat. Okay, so there's the book. I just have the pages clipped in just to make sure that I didn't need to adjust anything there beforehand. So I'm just going to take those out. And we have pockets that go in here that I had hidden on my Cricut file and forgot to cut initially, so we didn't talk about those yet. But I think I'm grabbing the pockets right here. Yeah, there's the pockets. So you have a little pocket that goes on each side and then the matting for those pockets, but we'll get back to that. So first thing I'm going to do here is mat the bottom of my book, which again, once I did this, I realized you really don't need to, because the way this box is going in here, you're not really going to see it. You might see a tiny bit around the edge, but that's entirely up to you if you want to do that. I did go ahead and mat it here. And at 6 7/8 by, it would be 1 3/8 at this point after the adjustment, because of course, keeping in mind, mine had not been adjusted yet. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue that down. I'm going to erase my measurement off of that, because as we know, it's wrong. It's not wrong, it just makes the project a little tighter fit than I would have liked, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to get glue on there. Okay, so then what I did here is I've got both of these pieces. I'm putting the tab that attaches it to the album on the bottom, and I'm holding them so that they're sitting the way they will sit when they're closed. And I'm just kind of lining up approximately where they go. Once I get that figured out, I'm going to drop one of them. And this does take a little bit of wiggling to try to figure out. And then I'm holding on to the tab that attaches in the bottom, folding that over, holding that side down, folding the tab up, and then adding the glue. This way you're going to get it in here where it's not over too far one way or the other, and it lines up exactly where you need it to line up. Okay? So now we're going to stand them back up, put these together again, and I'm just going to repeat the process on the other side. So I've got that about where it needs to go. I'm going to hold it there, let that fall, hold the tab, lay that side down, hold that side down, and then get the glue on my tab. And apparently I can burnish left-handed, but I cannot do glue left-handed. Figure that one out. Okay, so you do have a little bit of gap in the middle there that you kind of see, but not really. So again, if you don't want to mat underneath this, you don't have to. You could wait and mat underneath it at this point, and that would work as well. So now to keep this closed, you could leave it so it just folds open like this if you wanted to. I'm actually going to do some little accordions so that this is kind of like an accordion pocket, and then we're going to do some little bands to hold it closed. But if you didn't want to add the accordion pieces on here, you absolutely don't have to. It would still make it a cute little box even if it folds open all the way. So for the accordion pieces, we've got two pieces 4x6. With the 6" at the top of the scoreboard, you are just going to score every ½ inch all the way across. So ½ inch, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, and then 5.5. You're going to do that on both of these pieces. So again, just every ½ inch. Okay, and then you're just going to do just a normal accordion zigzag fold on this. Take your time so that it folds up evenly. You'll have noticed in the walkthrough I have one side that like is trying to kind of bow inward, and that was just when I was attaching these down, I did something weird to it. I like pulled it out too far, and now I can't get it to go back the way I want it to, but it still closes up. It's fine. It works the way it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep folding here. And then we'll do the other side. Once the first one's folded, we'll fold the second one. Okay, so there's one. We're going to do the same thing with the other one. Again, just taking my time, make sure that the folds are even, that, you know, my accordion fold doesn't get off, like too much on one end and not enough on the other, because that can happen even if you score it really well. So do take your time with this when you're doing this. Okay, almost there. And the last fold there. So, okay, so we're going to bring our book back in and stretching that out just a tiny bit. And I think this is the one I stretched out too far. So when you attach this, sorry, I had to figure out how I was actually attaching this. I could not for the life of me remember how I was doing this. Okay, you want the open side facing towards the inside part of the book. Okay, so the fold is going to be along that outside edge. And you're just going to put this even with the bottom of the chipboard on that side of the album. Okay, I'm going to turn it around, do the same thing with the other side, and again, I'm going to glue it so that the score where this is folded is going towards the side of the box. The open side is towards the center of the box. Gluing it down even with the the bottom edge of that chipboard. So now this is going to fold up and you're going to glue those pieces down the same way on the opposite side of the box. And this is going to be a little bit tricky. You're going to have to kind of, and it was really hard to show, I apologize, but basically all I'm doing is reaching in, pushing that all the way out to the side and all the way to the bottom, and then just holding it until it grabs, until that glue has a second to kind of start to set. And then it is attached down, and then just do the same thing on the other side. Like I said, that was the side that when I was putting it in there initially, I kind of pulled it apart a little bit too much and I couldn't get it to quite collapse back together the way it really should have. So that's totally on me. You shouldn't have any problem with this. Okay, so there's our accordion. So now to hold this closed, and again, this is optional. You could just leave it so when you pull the box out, this whole thing opens like that. I wanted a closure. So what we're going to do is use some magnets and a couple of scraps of paper. So I'm going to cut from one of my scraps, and I think my scrap was like 9 inches long. I'm going to cut this to 1.5 inches wide. Okay, 2 pieces, 1.5 inches by just whatever, because you're going to use a scrap for this, so whatever length they are, as long as it's at least about 6 or 7 inches, you'll be fine. Okay, so I'm going to score one end at 3/4 of an inch. Okay, I'm going to do that on both of them. Okay, I'm going to grab my book. I'm going to fold that over. And I'm going to hold it where it would attach on one side of that box. I'm going to hold that closed the way it should close up, and then I'm just going to kind of lightly crease where that second score line needed to go. So there's not really a measurement per se on this because your box may be slightly different. Just kind of feel where it is, pinch it, and then come in and go ahead and score that. Okay, and then I repeated that same, I noted where it was that I ended up doing the second score mark. And see, I'm just going to fit it on here again. Figure about how long I want to cut that. So I think my piece that actually, as it comes across the front, ended up being 5 inches. So once I did my first band, then I just took my other band, measured where the overall length was, and I just cut my score mark off of the end, so I had to rescore the whole thing. So 3/4 of an inch to start, and then just note about where it needed to go on the first one and repeat it on the second one. And then both of those, you're going to glue that 3/4 of an inch tab on one side of the box. We're going to add some magnets. So that tab's going to glue onto one side. It's going to wrap around and attach with a magnet to the front of the box on the opposite side. The other one, it'll just run the opposite direction. So you'll have those pieces wrap around on each side, coming from opposite ends to hold that piece of the box closed. So now you get to watch me struggle and open magnets that didn't want to open for me. And I need to add them on my list next time I resupply myself. I'm running low. And that always makes me paranoid because I love my magnets. So we're going to use 2 sets of magnets. I am using the big ones. I don't use the little ones a ton just because I don't think they grab as well sometimes. And the big ones are a little bit stronger, so I tend to use the big ones and not the smaller ones. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and get the backing off and stick one side of my, or one set of magnets on each one of those closure pieces. And you don't want to do too close to an edge. And then we're going to struggle with some glue here, like usual. In part because of how we're putting this together. It just did not want to hold for me. So I just kind of eyeballed about where halfway up was. Actually, I take it back. I didn't do halfway up. I did this so that this band was even with the top of the accordion part, so that it was consistent all the way across, and somehow managed to, pull it back off again. So we're going to glue it again because it's me and this is what happens. Okay, so then I'm going to hold that closed. I'm going to get my backing off of my magnet, my second half of my magnet. See, I'm trying to fix where that one piece just does not want to sit right. Because the other part folds up just fine. That was the side, like I said, I pulled it out too far. I didn't leave those collapsed enough, and that's entirely my fault. So we're going to pull the backing off of the adhesive on the second magnet, hold that so that it's flat, sorry, not flat, so that it closes up without sinking in on itself, hold that around, and then drop that magnet into place. We're going to repeat on the opposite side. So the end tab is going to go directly across from where that band is, the first band. You're going to wrap all the way around and do the same thing with getting the backing off of the magnet and attaching that down where it needs to go. You could use ribbon for this part if you wanted to. I didn't want to. We're getting the backing off here. And that magnet was incredibly sticky and it stuck before I wanted it to, so I ended up having to pull it off and fix it. But that's okay. It happens. You just want to watch and make sure that your 2 pieces that come around are even with each other. Okay. Now we're going to glue our page stack in here, and you're just going to glue right on that tab on the back. And you're going to center it up, and it should run almost top to bottom. You're going to be just like a 1/16 of an inch short, and you're going to go all the way to the outside edge. Okay. And I should have put my pocket down first, but we'll put the pockets down here in just a second. Okay, we're going to put the other one down. And again, you're just going to kind of eyeball it and center it all the way to the top, the outside edge, and put it down. And there's your little waves crashing into the shore. Okay, so the pockets, when you cut these with the Cricut, assuming you cut them with the Cricut, they are going to cut with the tabs that you need to then just put in your scoreboard and score at 1/2 inch. Again, I'm not wild about scoring with the Cricut with the scoring wheel. I need to try with the new one with the scoring stylus, which you see me use a lot of times on my scoreboard, and see if it's improved at all with that, because the maker automatically tries to make you go to the scoring wheel, which works, but if you're like cutting multiple things with score lines, you spend a lot of time switching back and forth. So I am just further mitering these off. I wasn't sure if I was going to, which is why I left them like that in the file. But just to reduce the bulk, you can go ahead and cut across that corner. So we're just going to fold these down and burnish the 3 tabs on the pocket. We're going to go ahead and do both of those. And then these are going to go in our book underneath our pages towards the box in the center, so that the bottom of the pocket is going to face towards the center of the book. So I'm just getting some glue on there. And you don't want to go clear over to the spine where the spine and the cover meet. You want to leave about 1/8 of an inch gap. And this should fit pretty close top to bottom, almost exact. If you are hand cutting your pocket, you're going to cut it to 8 by 5.5. Mostly so that if you are going to go ahead and add the waves or, you know, a border punch or something on that, that gives you that little bit of extra that you're going to cut off in doing so. If you're not going to make a fancy edge on the pocket, then you're going to do that to 8 by 4.5. I'm sorry, 8 by 5. 4.5 or 5. It's up to you. Depends on how deep you want that pocket. This actually was deeper than I had intended it for it to be, but it actually worked out and looked really cute, so it's okay. All right, so then we're going to put our other pocket on the opposite side. And then we're going to go ahead and work on some ribbon for the outside, and then I'm going to show you a fun little ink blend, how I did the ink blending on the white mats that go on the backs of the pages, which that, of course, I mean, all of this is totally optional. You could make this entire project without the fun fancy edges and it would work just fine. But I will add the page measurements if you're gonna, you know, hand cut those pages and then use a border punch or something. I will put those in the description just because you have to add a little bit extra when you're doing the any kind of border punch like that, just because you're going to lose some of that paper. So I will put that in the description on the video. All right, one more thing to do to the book. Let me find some score tape here. Okay, so this is going to sit like this in our aquarium box, okay? So when it opens up like this. So you've got your little waves washing towards the shore. You know, of course, when you flip through it, it's going to be like this, and then you've got your centerpiece that opens up, which I got dinged up here, but that's okay. So we need a way to get this in and out of our aquarium box. So what we're going to do is we're going to take ribbon, and I'm going to go, where's my ruler? There we go. Okay. I'm going to go about here. I'm going to turn it around the right way. And I am going to go down. And I'm going to go all the way around to the opposite side. Okay. Then I'm going to do it again. get about the same point on the other side. Okay. So again, I'm going to go all the way around. And what this is going to do, we're not going to tie. I'm going to apparently not be able to get my backing off. Okay, I'm going to fold this back part way. Okay, so I'm going to start over here. I'm going to come up in a loop. I'm going to come over and down. Okay. Peel back some more of the tape, backing, come around. Okay. Oops. I'm going to do about the same amount. Of course, it's not going to be exact, just close as you can get. Okay. And come around and around again and back there, and then trim. So rather than having something that you're having to tie and untie, I keep pushing that in and screwing up that corner. I don't know why. You're going to have just these little handles that you're going to grab to pull this up and out of the box. So I'm going to go ahead, and because this is going to slide in and out of the box, we are not going to embellish this side of it at all. Really, this isn't going to get a whole lot of embellishment, period, just because it is a little bit tighter fit, and you want to make sure it can fit in your box once there's pictures and whatnot in it. So I might add a few of my little ephemera pieces, but they won't be... Oh my god, I just pushed it in again, didn't I? Holy crap. Okay. Sorry, I'm just like seriously challenged with this one today. And truly, if I'd worked out how I was going to do this part of it earlier, I would have matted this before I actually put anything on the inside. So keep that in mind. Okay. All right. So there we go. Let me grab our aquarium. Okay. So I'll pull my top off the aquarium. And this is going to slide right down in here like so. That's going to slide all the way down. Still have room for your battery pack. And there you go. There is your aquarium. Whoops. Let's not mess up our rocks here. And the little album that sits inside of it. There you go. Okay, I have one more little element on the inside of this, and then we're done. Okay, so for our little white pieces, I thought we would do something a little bit different. So Echo Park and Cartabella, and really even Simple Stories has started doing it now. They've been releasing stencils to go with most of their collections lately. If you're a card maker, you're probably familiar with the stencils, you know, if you do mixed media, any of that kind of thing. if you mostly do mini albums, you may not have thought about using these before. So that's what we're going to do. Okay. So I have the 2 stencils that go with this collection. So we've got starfish and we've got the school of fish. We're going to start with some starfish here. And what we're going to do, I have got a whole selection of Distress Oxide ink out here to just kind of play with and see, you know, what we want to do as far as colors, that kind of thing. So I've got Salty Ocean, Salvage Patina, which is the newest one. I know there's another new one coming out, I think next weekend. And this one is actually in the store at Country Craft Creations. These others are older ones, so they're not. Tumbled Glass is also an older one. I've also got Crackling Campfire. I've got Lucky Clover, Candied Apple, Wild Honey, Old Paper, and Wilted Violet. So we're just going to kind of mix and match and you know, do some different stuff here. So all I'm going to do, if you've got Pixie Spray, which I have somewhere, I don't know where it went. I literally was just using it the other night. I don't know where I put it. Okay, so pretend I had if you have Pixie Spray is basically a temporary adhesive that you spray on the back of your stencils and then they'll stick to whatever it is you're going to do. If you're doing like card fronts that, you know, are really intricate or whatever, then yeah, you really kind of do need it. With what we're going to do here, it's not going to matter. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with the Lucky, no I'm not. I'm going to start with Candied Apple. We're going to do some little red starfish here. So you could do the entire background, you could do part of it, you could do it in multiple colors, and I'm just going to show you just some of the options. So I've just got a blending brush. These are some that are a little bit smaller off of Amazon. I think they come 10 or 12 to a thing, and they're like $13. They're a great value. They're not as good as the Gina K ones, but they're actually pretty dang good. I've been really impressed with them. So all I'm doing is getting some of that ink on my brush, and then I'm just going to come in over that stencil and just work in a circular motion. I'm going to hold my stencil just with my finger, which means I'm going to end up covered in ink, but that's okay. And I'm just going to do that bottom corner. And there you go. You have some cute little starfish. So then I can turn it around. I can go up in this upper corner, and I can do the same thing again. Okay. I can put this off to the side, and I'm going to grab the Crackling Campfire now. I'm going to go up over here, and I'm going to get up in this corner. And then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to come down in this corner with it. And you can do this as light or as dark as you want. I am going a little bit darker than I might normally. And then I'm going to finish it off with Wild Honey. So I'm just going to leave that where it is. And I'm just going to come in like so. And if I get a little bit in other areas, I go back over something I've already gone over, that's fine. And there we go. Look at all those little starfish. So now this, I can take my book. I can find my back of one of my pages. Actually, this side, because that's the way this one faces. And I can just glue that in. And there you go. You have a fun little background instead of it being just the plain white. You have something different. Okay. Let me grab... There's the tray. And I'm going to just drop this in here, and I'm going to spray it some cleaner. You can also just use water, because that's the other thing we can do, actually. I'll let that sit for just a second. I'll show you another thing you can do, which where this is, you know, ocean-themed paper. I have water. All I have to do is spray that with a little bit of water, and it's water reactive ink. So what's going to happen is you're going to get some like water droplets and some fading that you're going to get when you do that. Okay? I'll grab a paper towel. Okay, so I'm going to wipe this one off. Just don't get my inks too messy. Okay. Except that's not totally dry. Okay. And I'm going to grab another one of our little pieces here. And this time I'm going to grab some fish. And this is where I can just lay this on here. I'm going to turn it sideways because I'm not going to do the entire thing. I'm just going to get some salvaged patina. And I'm just going to pick some fish here and there randomly. And just that easy. Look how cool that one is. So there's another one. Let me grab one for the other side. Let's make sure I'm actually inking the right side of this. I am not. It needs to go that way. I think. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to use my fish again. Not sure which side. There we go. And this time I can blend the fish all the way across. So this time I'm going to go in with the salvage patina again. And I'm just going to blend some fish through the middle. Now, I could stop there. I'm going to come in with some tumbled glass. And then I'm going to come in with the salty ocean over here in this corner. Go back on the other side here with the tumbled glass, which is probably one of my favorites. Okay. And there we have a whole little school of fish. Now, if I had taped it down, I wouldn't have this little bit of runoff here, but all I need to do with that, and I've got ink on my fingers, so I may end up recutting these, but that's okay. I can just come and kind of blend on the edges here to blend that out together. Just to smooth that out so that you don't have as much of a line there as I have right now. Which again, that's just me, you know, quickly showing you how to do this without getting into too much detail. So yeah, I can come along on my edges here. And blend those edges in. And there you go. Okay, so let's do one more. Let me find a bigger post to keep my filthy little fingers off of this. Okay, so let me get some ink off of here. And that's the one thing with distress ink that you do have to kind of keep in mind is it does not dry quickly. You usually do have to let it sit for a little bit before you can do a whole lot with it, or you get out the little heat tool from that Ranger sells, and you do that to heat set it. So, okay, last one, we're going to come in here with Wilted Violet. I'm just going to randomly ink some starfish. And some of them I'm going to go darker, and some of them I'm going to go lighter. Okay, there you go. Now, the other thing you could do, and this is what is just amazing about the oxide inks, is you can use colored paper. So what I could do here, actually I'm going to just do a little test corner on this, because I don't want to clean that stencil right this second. And I have a lighter distress ink. I'm just going to come up here in this corner. Except remove my stencil. That's okay though. You can also do that on the colored, solid colored paper with the stencils and, you know, other colors of distress, and still have a really cool result. So let's do a couple more here. Since we're using a darker one on here, I am going to go a little bit heavier than I would normally, but look at that. Now you've got a little purple stars. So just something different that you can do, something you may not have thought of. You know, if you have seen the stencils in the store and aren't quite sure what to do with them, you know, I know Sally has like gone and done some absolutely amazing tutorials, like mixed media tutorials and whatnot, where she comes in and she inks, and then she uses the texture paste and she uses all this other stuff. I'm not that good. I can ink through a stencil. That's about the extent of it at this point, or I can blend, you know, like an entire piece of cardstock or whatever, but that's about the extent of my ink blending that I do. So for now, I'm learning, but just another option, a different way to kind of decorate the back side of the pages in your book. I'm going to finish matting and whatnot. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and of course, if you end up making this project, please share it on Scrapbookers of Country Craft Creation, and also on my page, Scrapping Under the Influence. I also have a group that it's a little bit easier to share stuff that you've made using one of my tutorials that is called I Scrapped Under the Influence. All of that is on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram, Scrapping Under the Influence, and you can share stuff there and tag me there as well. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thanks for watching. Bye.